Hey guys, thought I'd come on today and talk a little bit about the male mindset to life and the female mindset to life, and talk a little bit about the reasons why a lot of males today want to watch sports and manly things. It's mostly due to feminism, but we'll get into that. Um, the thing is that the difference in the way a female thinks about life as opposed to a man, especially in a MGTOW situation, is typically there were some studies that recently came out about the way women or the way rich children look at college as opposed to the way a normal kid with maybe low income or parents that don't have a lot of money but do have money to send them to school. Typically they look at it as a business investment, and they look at it as a way to further their career. Whereas a rich person thinks of it in a way of like they want to do something they really love, and they actually, in the study they found out that most of the children that have rich parents, the children actually go to college and end up making less than their parents. Whereas the children that went to college and got degrees with low income or blue collar working families tend to make 40% more than their parents, because they go into, like I say, into college hoping to have a career that will better their lives. And rich people don't have to think about this. Well, the mindset that a woman has is the same. And a lot of women want to say that they can do the things that a man can do, and all the stuff they can do it just as good as a man. Well, that may be true. The problem is most women don't want to do it. Most women just aren't interested. Their whole mindset to life is just not designed around doing things that men typically think is fun, or enlightening. What a man thinks is enlightening is science and figuring things out and trying to do relatively intellectual things. Whereas women are more typically designed to exterior things. They want knickknacks, and they're more into that kind of thing. Whereas a man wants to build a car, a woman just wants to own a pretty car. And they don't really care about if it's worth money or if it's a 1969 Camaro. They don't care if it's a 2016 Toyota Prius. They just want it to look pretty. So the whole mindset that they have in the way they approach life is just completely different. A male's concept is to go to college, get a degree in something that they can make a lot of money at, like a doctor, a lawyer, something like this. A woman's mindset is just to go to college to do something they like, because they know eventually they're going to get married, and then they're going to end up with a husband and kids, and then they probably won't work anymore. The fact is that less than 45% of the women who leave work go back to work. Now, to have children. Now, the problem with that is that even if you're a MGTOW, you're going to end up having to pay for women, whether you like it or not. And how this happens is most of the workforce in America, in the world, in fact, is men. Most women tend to get lower paying jobs because of their skills and what they went to college for. Their average income is much lower. And the problem that you're going to have with that is most of them have part-time jobs. Most of the men that get high-paying jobs, you end up paying into Social Security, disability. And because of that, when a woman gets older and her husband dies, the money that's paid to her through Social Security disability comes out of your pocket. you know, because you're the one paying into Social Security disability so that this woman who you aren't married to, who you may never even have known, is living off of your dime, you know. And this is the thing. They, you know, women always talk about the suffrage movement, you know, getting the right to vote. Well, the thing about that is, in the 1800s, in the Civil War era, in England and in America, if you owned property, that was the only way you could vote. And many women owned property, so women were able to vote. When they did the suffrage movement, what that was designed to do is to get everybody, including women, if you were low income, able to vote, even if you didn't have property. But the thing that made it different was men also got the vote, but if you wanted to vote, you had to sign up for selective service. So you had to, if a draft was held, you would have to go to war, then you'd have to fight, and maybe even die to protect the United States. Women don't have to do that. They were able to get the vote, yet they don't have to sacrifice anything, you know. So that's not equality. It's not equal. But women always brush over that. You know, that's not something we want to talk about. We don't want to point out the fact that, you know, guys got it bad, and, you know, that there's over 130,000 rapes in prison every year. We don't want to talk about that, because women being raped is the only thing that matters. You know, that's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter that 60% of the reported rapes in the United States are from men. You know, yeah, we don't want to talk about that. You know, and this has only happened since the early 1900s, basically, you know, or actually 1900, but like 1900, you know, not, which is the 20th century. This has only happened since then. When these women's suffrage movements have came about, and people have started, the women have started getting more and more in control of what goes on in the family life. And because in the 1800s this wasn't a problem. Men just kind of said, like, you know, they ruled the roost, you know, and they kind of went out and got food. They were providers. They were men, you know, in the staunch sense of the word. And as that's died off, men have been relegated to kind of non-providers. They don't do anything anymore. And because of that, they're very interested in associating themselves with things that are cultural abnormals, which would be football, baseball, basketball. These very overly manly things that are something that man himself could never do, or that he may have tried to do. Jim Carrey said a funny thing back in the day when he said that you can tell how good a man's life was for how far back in his life he has to reach for glory, you know. And you'll hear a lot of men talking about their high school days of playing football, and it's because their life now is sucky. They don't have much to go on. So their manly days ended in high school, you know, basically. And maybe if you were lucky, a couple of years in college. But that's it. You know, once you get out of college, even if you did football, you get a job, 9 to 5, get married, have kids, and you turn into a pussy whip motherfucker. You turned into this MGTOW, you know, whiny little bitch boy that follows after his wife and does whatever she says. And because of that, lots of these guys like to watch football and baseball and basketball and wrestling and UFC, and all these things have came about, you know, like Road to Hell, you know, The Road Through Hell, all these jobs that most men will never do, but these guys that do these jobs are like manly men. the oil workers, guys like that. These are like really manly jobs. These are jobs that pay high dollars and have a high rate of guys getting killed, and the deadliest catch, things like that. These kind of shows are very well rated, and many men watch them because typically what you have going on right now is men are being kind of like I don't know how to say it, like feminized, because of the feminism. Men are being taught by their mothers and by society that being manly is misogynist, and it's part of the patriarchy, and that you shouldn't want to be manly. You should want to be a caretaker for your wife, and you should want to take care of women, and you should be just like a big bitch boy, and by doing that, the entire culture that men have that's happened basically through evolution is just in the last 115 years has basically been wiped out. The things that made humans strong and able to live for 150,000 years and have got us to this point. Feminism is breaking down, and this is the thing with women. They're breaking this down in just 115 years. They were what's taken 150,000 years to get us to the point. Women are able to break that down in just 115 years and turn manly man from the old west that came across the west with no supermarkets, with nothing, who hunted and fished and went from one side of the United States to the other, like Lewis and Clark, things like that. These manly men don't exist anymore. We got guys that watch the Bear Grylls and all these, the Bear Grylls and all this stuff. The reason why they like to watch stuff like that is because these men could never do any of that, And that's a lot of reasons why we're getting so many men that join the military, because it's the only way they can prove how manly they are. Because even if they serve like 2 years in the military, just like if they were in high school, that's all they'll talk about for the rest of their life. I was in the Marines, Semper Fi, They may have never even went to war. They may have never even left the United States. They may have never even done anything. They just went to boot camp, and then they were on some military base. And they spent their time doing military drills and driving tanks out in the desert in Arizona or something like that. And they never actually did anything, but they can say like, "Oh, I was a Marine," And that's their projection of what it means to be manly now, Where it used to be being manly was a real thing. Now it's just a euphemism, to where it's no longer, being manly is no longer what it used to mean. And what it means now is an armchair quarterback, things like that. That's manly. Well, I watch football and I waste my whole life knowing everything there is to know about a football team, Like, for me, I'm a musician, and I like to waste my brain knowledge on things that will make me money, things that I can make money with. Like learning more about music, learning more about major scales, learning more about things like that, learning more about teaching. If I'm going to use up my brain matter, it's going to be on something that's going to make me money. I don't see any reason why I would fill my brain up with someone else's life. You see, that's the thing about knowing everything about a soccer team or Manchester United or these kind of things. By you knowing all this stuff, you're able to say what somebody else is doing in their life, but you're not living your own life. You're living vicariously through somebody else on a team in some other state or country, and these guys that have this idea that team is my team, yet you've never done anything. You might have went to see this team one time. Nobody on the team even knows your name. If you have these armchair quarterbacks that sit in their room and watch them on TV and think if they wear a certain shirt that'll make the team win, all this crazy ass stupid shit, and the way I like to describe it is the same way that you think about religion. It's the beginning concept of anything is where things go wrong, because you can sit and talk to me about everything you think is right, is good, and if I'm talking to somebody from a STEM field and they're talking to me about science and all this stuff, and then they say something about aliens or something about, say, Jesus or something like that, anything they said, it's just out of my head. I don't care, because the beginning of what your main concept is, the pebble that it starts from, if that is skewed, then anything that comes out of that is just stupid. You can be talking about some of the most highest tech science, neutron bombs, things like this. You can be talking about some crazy ass nuclear physics and just crazy ass stuff, and then if you throw out Jesus and God into it, you lost me. I'm out. that's nothing that I want to hear. And that's why I'm saying, like, if you're living your life, you need to live it to the fullest, which is why I like being a MGTOW, because I don't have to worry about having somebody to come home to, somebody to answer to. I don't have anybody to answer to, and if I want to do something in my day, I can just go do it. I don't have to talk to anybody about it or ask if I can do it. Like I have a mommy, even though I'm in my 40s, which is what happens if you're married. You end up having a mommy figure where you have to ask mommy if you can do it or not. If I want to buy a car, I can just go buy it. I don't have to ask mommy if it's all right, So, these are the concepts that we have going on right now, where it's this whole mindset of knowing everything about somebody else's life and not living your own life. And I think I would say that has happened due to feminism. They're trying to get men to do what they want and to say what they want and to act in the way they want, but they're allowing you the option of living vicariously through somebody who is manly and seeing what it means to be manly, but they're not allowing you to be manly. They're just allowing you to see what that means. And slowly, even that is being eroded to where the people who are doing things manly still have to answer to women and still have to do things that a woman says, So this is a big problem, and I hope to go in further into this, and we'll talk more about it. If you like this video, share, like, and subscribe. Comment in the section below if you have any ideas for videos. Leave those in the section below, and hope you guys have a nice weekend or nice week.